Good morning from a rather chilly Quebec. It's 1 degree this morning, even though it's May the 18th. So what am I doing up so early? Well, today I've got an awful lot of things to do. I've got a TD5 coming in at 9:30. I've got to be down at JP's machine shop to machine a shim for a gearbox, and also to see if he's finished my transfer box off. But at the same time, I've got this Disco 2 behind me of Brian's, and we've got an oil leak problem, but I don't know where it's coming from. Now, this started off as a starter replacement, so let me cover that bit first, and then you'll perhaps understand what I have to do. Now, a starter replacement on a Rover V8 is not too bad to do. It's, you know, if you've got a lift, it's kind of easy. But the problem is getting the shield off the starter. You have to sort of bend and manipulate it because there's a couple of sensors, the oxygen sensor sticking out the exhaust right where you want to pull the shield off, and also there's a knock sensor on the side of the engine which you don't want to knock off. Perhaps that's why they're called a knock sensor. But anyway, so after a lot of messing about, I got it off. Now, a hot tip if you ever do a starter: they're held in by a 1/4" hex-headed screw, that's 1/4" drive, a little 6" extension with one of these little ratchet things here is ideal for doing them. It'll just to say slip over the top, because if you know these things from old, there's the starter. When it's on the engine, it's sort of like that, and you can't see the bolt, but this is just in a perfect place to get to. Now, talking about this, seems to be doing some work down the road here. We'll have to just ignore them. This is the original type of starter. It was clicking, but it wasn't turning. Alright, so bear that in mind. But Ryan supplied me with this fancy dancy type of starter, sort of heavy duty starter. Now take a good look at this compared to this one. This was how it would go on the engine. Notice there's the actual motor's inverted. These won't fit on the Bosch engine. Now this is the Bosch engine, not a Lucas Gems engine. There is a big distinct difference because these have got an aluminium sump on them, and this bit hits the sump. Great, eh? I found that out later after a lot of messing about. And you'll notice here they've got a slot, so you can put the screw in so far and then drop it on. That means you'd have to get a hex-headed bolt, what is it, 3/8 UNC, to drop into there first, rather than an Allen bolt, because there's no way on earth you'd get an Allen key into there. So just be careful if you want to put one of these starters onto these engines. So that said, so what's the other problem? Well, I'll put some pictures whilst I'm talking to you on here. And he said, well, when it's up in the air, can you have a look for a leak? There's a bad leak. He had the oil changed about 1,000 kilometers ago, and it's leaking. So as you can see, when I was bottering about underneath there, I thought it might be the sump or the front crank seal. That seemed to be fine. But when I came round to have a look at the bell housing, it was soaking wet. Now, that can be only coming out of one of two places: the rear crank seal, or the rear of the rocker boxes at the back. Now, down the side of the engine it was really nice and dry, and as you know, if a rocker box is leaking or a valve cover, the oil tends to migrate all over the engine when it's warm. Like capillary, it'll pull all over the place. But it was really, really wet round the back. Now, if you know anything about these Rover V8s and things like this, you can see there isn't that much room to work in. So what I've got is this. I'm going to use this later on, and I'm going to drive around in this car. I'm going to go up to JP's and see and get it warmed up. This is just a little, like an endoscope type of thing that we can plug in and use our mobile phone to have a look round the back of the valve cover. It works off Bluetooth or something, whatever it is, but it gives me a chance to actually record the pictures. Alright, so that's one tool we're going to use, but for now I'm going to put in some of this fluid here. This is a dye by Tracer Line. We've used this once before on a tricky leak. It says this is in a 1 ounce bottle, and they said that you need about, I've already emptied a little bit of this, so I'm going to use a full bottle in 7 litres of oil. That's if there's 7 litres still in it. Drive it around a bit, and then with an ultraviolet light we'll be able to see exactly where the oil's coming from. Now this is really strange because the bell housing's leaking, but he said, well, there's oil on the bottom of the bell housing, but he did say that the transmission was replaced a while ago. Now it's very rare for a transmission to go on a Disco 2. I've known 1 or 2, but not that many. And the thing is, he's had new oil cooler pipes made up in like stainless steel going to the front. That's okay. But when I was under the front, if you can see here on the picture, it's awful wet on the front cross member, but it's awful wet clear. Now, get this. When I was looking at this engine, I don't think it's got an engine oil cooler on it. The plugs, it's plugged up. The ports are plugged up. I could be wrong, but I didn't go into it too much. But the thing is, if it is engine oil leaking, and it is leaking out the front, the dye will show up by using an ultraviolet light, and we'll be able to see it straight away. And this is the thing. I don't know what oil is in this transmission. Normally oil is red ATF, isn't it? Yes, Mike, it is. However, in their infinite wisdom, on a Disco 2, they decided not to put a dipstick for the transmission. Nope, you have to put it on a lift, have the engine running, I think, and take out a plug on the side to top it up and check the level. What advanced thinking was that? They've saved on a dipstick tube but wasted transmissions. So what I'm trying to say is the oil in the transmission a different type and it's clear, or yellowy type stuff, the same colour as engine oil? We don't know. So by putting the dye in, if it's leaking out the transmission into the bell housing, it'll stay the same colour. If it's leaking engine oil, it'll start to glow. Alright, so that's the idea. However, we need to circulate the oil, and that's today's job, and I've got the car for almost a week, so I'm going to run around in it if we can afford it in petrol and see what happens. But it's one of those mysterious things, you know what I mean? Like when I have it a few times when people said, well, when you got it up on the lift, can you have a look at so-and-so, which I did. You know, I greased up the drive shafts and stuff like that for him and had a look around and reported 1 or 2 little things that needed attention. But I have had people say, you know, changing gear oil on a Defender. Oh, and while it's up on the lift, could you change the clutch? Yeah, all right. No. So anyway, that's the day's job. It is a nice car. It runs really well. Apparently, it's had all new top hat liners put into it a while ago. It runs really well. But again, it's just plagued by an oil leak. I can't see where it's coming from. So we'll come back in this maybe, what day is it today? Friday. If I run this around over the weekend, if I get some time, that should give it time for this oil to circulate, this dye, and see what gives. So let's put it in right now. That's if it comes out the bottle. It's that cold. There we are. I hope I put enough in. The thing about these bottles is that the dye it's kind of concentrated. It's that colour, if you see what I mean. But it glows green. But the thing is, it's got a little marker on the side for how much you should put in, but it's so dark you can't see where it is. And the things you have to do. Right, we'll be back again later.